Hi, my name is Ryan Francis. I'm the Vice President of Product Management for the Mastercard Payment Gateway in North America. My role is to really ensure that the regional demands and trends of our customers in North America are understood and prioritized accordingly with our global product team. My team also provides consultancy to our customers to deploy our products and services in the market, and really just to support the enablement of Mastercard acceptance products within the gateway.
How has COVID-19 affected the payment gateway industry? How has your job role continued to support our partners?
I think COVID's had a significant impact on the payment industry in general. I mean, prior to the outbreak, the USA was like one of the largest payments markets with a 31% share of global commerce. And it's also been the country, I guess, that's been one of the hardest hit in terms of number of COVID cases. So, the impact that we've seen is really, the interest rates are down, consumer confidence is down, spending is low, and the overall economy has been dropping. So, and it's been interesting to see that across different verticals. Some verticals have actually, increased, and then others, such as travel, for example, have, pretty much collapsed across some of those key sectors. So my role, I guess, has really been to help identify where our technology can help assist businesses in navigating these challenges. And that can differ, like I say, really depending on the verticals that we're focusing on.
What other macro trends are driving change in the payment gateway industry during 2020? What should we keep an eye out for in 2021?
I think the pandemic has accelerated the move away from cash and physical payments in general. A significantly smaller proportion of payments are being made in person as isolation really keeps customers at home. So those reliant on cash also tend to be those who are most vulnerable as well, and more encouraged to stay inside and to isolate due to COVID-19. So businesses also been advising customers to avoid cash for hygiene reasons and things like that. We're really seeing an acceleration of digital payments. That also incorporates, I'd say, a global trend for the tokenization of payment credentials as well, both in mobile wallets and stored credentials, really designed around improving consumer experiences for things like return purchases and loyalty solutions. I think the ability to prove identity as well through things like digital wallets will also have increasing number of use cases, especially given the pandemic has also given rise to an increase in fraud and chargebacks as well. Consumers, will also have higher expectations themselves from payment institutions, particularly in speed of transactions and feeling confident that their data is being shared securely. This digitization of consumer experiences will also probably move to consumer to business as well. Consumers will expect the same speed and security when also, transacting online for things like paying their bills, for example. So the pandemic itself has really accelerated a number of these types of use cases.
What solutions are best equipped for tackling the payment challenges related to COVID-19?
In the US, one of the key solutions for tackling challenges related to COVID-19 has been contactless technology. Up until the pandemic, overall issuance of contactless cards and merchant enablement for contactless was fairly low. And according to a Mastercard contactless consumer poll, about 51% of consumers now surveyed had now used a form of contactless payment since the pandemic began. So, I think there's been a key shift change there in the use of contactless technology. And that will continue to progress forward in the US because, merchants and issuers are really rapidly embracing that technology. And I think also interestingly as well, it's a result of states also putting guidance out there, to promote the use of the technology. So it's interesting to see that, being a driver for the technology itself. So I think, this is going to really be particularly important within verticals such as transit, for example, in order to improve the customer journey experience and, the ability to pay with a frictionless experience like you see in the New York Metro, for example. And through my experience in the UK, where we have been using contactless technology for a number of years, the US is a little bit behind there, but where it was introduced into transit systems, we very quickly saw businesses surrounding that transit system, also start to adapt that technology as consumers start to leverage that experience in the shops and businesses surrounding and on their way into work, for example. So, yeah, contactless for me is a good example.
As people pay online more, what measures can people take to stay safe as possible?
I do think that we will start to see that drive additional use cases. Obviously, them being slightly different in terms of the actual technologies involved. But there is definitely a blurring of lines, between the physical environment, the physical point of sale, and being able to build those use cases with an e-commerce environment. So I do see that happening, especially as consumers become, more aware and more used to not using a physical instrument or a physical card to transact, and get used to using their phone, for example, for tapping in and tapping out of a gate, and then being able to continue to use that for other aspects of their daily life.
How do the needs differ for small businesses and large merchants?
I think it's incredibly important to recognize that small businesses have very differing needs. So, for example, where a small business who previously, didn't have any online presence, they've pretty much been forced to move really quickly, to be able to reach their customers, to be able to stay in business. So we've been working very closely with our acquiring partners to offer them solutions such as Simplify Commerce, for example, where we provide technology that allows SMEs to create web store without the need to bring in a web developer, and to really be able to then simply, promote their products via social media. Simplified commerce allows merchants to also engage remotely with their customers as well through the use of technology such as e-invoicing, which we just discussed. So, I think that has been a really interesting area for us to focus in terms of how we can support those small businesses quickly, in terms of getting them online and getting them a present or a remote engagement with their customers. It very much differs from the needs of larger enterprise clients as well. So they typically already have very mature payment stacks. So really, from their perspective, it might be around things like optionality and focusing on how they can enable, new payment mechanisms like, an installment or a buy now, pay later type style solution, and improved experiences like an improved guest checkout experience, such as what we offer through Click to Pay.
How much do you see COVID-19 accelerating changes that are already in motion?
COVID-19 has significantly accelerated trends that were already in motion. I see those trends continuing. Once the economy reopens, many consumers are likely to continue to shop online or to use their smartphones for home delivery services rather than actually make a trip in store. I think people have learned to use these services to be able to free up their time, now that they're homeschooling or, working from home. I think, these enable them to spend more time with their families, and I see that trend continuing. I also see that it will continue to accelerate the growth of marketplaces as well, where consumers are starting to shop online for multiple different services. They'll be looking to do that potentially in one place. So with a consumer experience that they can enjoy and that they're used to. And loyalty will play a big part in that as well, in terms of ensuring that these services remain relevant. I find that a very interesting area. And I think, this is all happening as well when open banking and new payment rails are all coming to the forefront. So I think it's actually really exciting to see how this momentum can really start to push payments technology forward.
How can businesses plan for the rapidly changing payment landscape due to COVID-19? And how is your role in MPGS supporting this change?
Businesses really need to understand their consumer needs more than ever, deeply. Perhaps the use of additional reporting or data insights to really help them achieve that, and to help them build new ways of interacting with their customers. And that might be, for example, the use of QR codes for menus, or number plate recognition technology in quick service restaurants, and really aligning those experiences to the overall commerce flow. I think in doing that, businesses really need to give thought to the investment choices they're making, given that it's very likely that technology budgets are going to be shrinking next year, and they have other challenges around offsetting costs such as T&E and stuff like that. So they need to question themselves. Does a business really need to remain the same as it was pre-pandemic, or do they use this now as a way to really change how they operate and to embrace the technology that's coming into the market now to support these additional use cases? And so I think that's really where we come in. MPGS is really collaborating with numerous fintech partners and acquirers and banks, and really supporting those institutions to really think outside of the norm and to drive new consumer experiences. And any transition for a merchant currently is critical as a result, because it's really important for us to arrange those payment experiences in a seamless and secure way. And that really requires us to work closely with our customers to understand their technology and to understand how best to deploy our products and services to best effect in their business.
Have you and your team found it rewarding to work on solutions that are so relevant?
It really has been a fascinating time to be involved in payments. Having been in the industry for over 17 years, I mean, we've seen a number of significant changes. And I always joke with friends to say that that those 17 years have probably been condensed. In terms of the last 5 years, we've seen more change than the prior 12, and that's only furthered with the onset of COVID. It's been great to be really at the forefront of that socio-economic change. It's extremely interesting, and our team really does get a sense of enjoyment in terms of helping our partners adapt to that. Supporting that change at such a challenging time is extremely rewarding, and especially where we're involved in the design and implementation of the next phase of payments technology. And I think we really see that as a privilege, and something that everyone at MPGS is really truly passionate about.
How prepared do you think businesses, banks, and consumers are prepared for the second wave during peak season?
I certainly think they're more prepared than they were before, and this all came on very, very quickly. And I think it's obviously become the new norm. And I know that sounds very cliche, but I do think businesses are more prepared to deal with the potential second wave of the virus. I do think, however, though, that we have been fairly fortunate in terms of the seasonality of when this has happened. So, starting in spring and the summer, we've been in a situation where families are able to go outside and can feel relatively safe in terms of businesses and restaurants have been offering experiences outside to be able to maintain social distancing. So I think, as we move into the winter, I think it will be really imperative for businesses to ensure that they've got digital experiences to be able to continue to engage their consumers when they're not able to offer those types of services to them. And I think consumers themselves as well have really become more digitally aware, and so, they'll be looking for slick experiences that really don't add to the complexity of the day-to-day environment, especially as we'll see people retreat indoors. So making sure that they've got good processes in place for things like returns process, for example, things as simple as that can make big difference in terms of the consumer experience. And I think also, acquirers and merchants also need to be aware as we go into a potential second phase as well of the increased potential of risks of things like chargebacks and fraud as well. So I think ultimately it's about positioning the business as ensuring that you've got the consumer top of mind, and being able to be flexible to change.